So the other day, on Friday, I went on an outreach with a couple friends from Minneapolis, and we go on the subway, and we got off the subway, we got up the stairs, and there was a huge crowd of partiers. Everyone was all dressed up, and they're having a big, everyone's drunk and they're partying. A huge crowd, everyone's squished in together, and I saw this woman in a wheelchair. And so I went over to her and I got down on my hands and knees and I started talking to her. And as soon as I talked to her, the crowd around her thinned and it pushed away. And there was a huge glory bubble of Jesus, is the only way I can describe it, that came down around us. And probably 15 feet in every direction, everyone just went around us and they stopped and they started looking what was going on. And I began to pray for her and ask her what was going on in her body. And she had been in a wheelchair for a year. She had not been able to move. She could walk without the wheelchair, but only for about 2 or 3 steps in excruciating pain. So she had her left rotator cuff was busted, it had been torn, and she had had surgery on it just recently, and it was still in a lot of pain. Her left knee was in a lot of pain. They had just done surgery to drain a bunch of fluid out of it and try and repair some of the cartilage. And she just, I think a week before, she said her lower back, C4 and C5, they'd done a bunch of surgery in that, and they put 2 pins in it, 2 screws in it. And so as I began to talk to her, I prayed and asked Jesus to heal her body, and nothing happened. And so I asked if I could pray a little bit more for her. And then I had this word that someone had pushed her down the stairs, and it wasn't a man, it was actually people that were inspired by demons. And I spoke over her that there were demons that had wanted to kill her, wanted to take her out and destroy her. And I broke that off of her, and I proclaimed that Jesus was king over her life, and she was no longer able to have these demons that had been assigned to her since she was young. And after I did that, I felt a shift in the atmosphere, and I prayed for her again, and the pain started to leave her body. And I encouraged her to get up out of her wheelchair and take a couple steps. And she was very hesitant at first because there was water on the ground. It had just rained, and she was worried she was going to slip, and she hadn't really walked for quite some time. But then after about another half hour of just spending time with her and praying with her, this wind came along and dried up the rain, and it was completely dry. And so I pointed to a wall about 60 feet away, and the 2 of us walked over there. And as we walked, the crowd just miraculously thinned. It was an absolutely packed street, but everyone around us, the path just opened up, and she walked over to this wall. She walked back, and there was no pain in her body. She was completely healed. Afterwards, she spent about 45 minutes just praising Jesus, and without the aid of her wheelchair, she didn't need her wheelchair anymore. She walked, she ran, she was able to do things she had not been able to do in well over a year, and it was an exciting time. Praise Jesus.